What if the moment you step into someone else's world is the moment everything changes for both of you? What if the people you thought were outside are actually ready to receive something you've been holding? And what if crossing one line, just one, opens the door to something far bigger than you imagined? Peter didn't fully understand where he was heading, but he knew he was supposed to go. After the vision, after the arrival of the messengers, after the quiet decision to move forward without complete clarity, Peter began the journey. He didn't go alone. Some believers came with him, witnessing what would unfold. Step by step, they moved towards Caesarea, the place where Cornelius was waiting. But Cornelius wasn't just waiting casually. He had gathered people, his relatives, his close friends, those who trusted him, who respected him, who were part of his life. He didn't keep the moment to himself. Whatever was about to happen, he wanted others to be part of it. There's something powerful about that kind of expectation. He didn't know exactly what Peter would say. He didn't know how everything would unfold, but he knew enough to prepare, to create space, to invite others in. And when Peter finally arrived, something unexpected happened immediately. Cornelius met him and fell at his feet in reverence, but Peter quickly lifted him up. "Stand up," he said. "I am only a man myself." That moment sets the tone. This wasn't about elevating one person above another. It wasn't about hierarchy or distance. It was about connection, human to human. Peter entered the house, and that by itself was significant. Because for Peter, stepping into that space meant crossing a boundary he had lived with his entire life. He even acknowledged it. "You are well aware that it is against our custom for a man like me to associate with or visit someone like you," he said. "But God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean." There it was, the vision now becoming real, the message now being lived out. This wasn't theory anymore, it was action. Peter had moved from seeing to understanding to doing, and that's where transformation becomes visible. Cornelius then shared his side of the story, how he had been praying, how the angel appeared, how he was told to send for Peter. And then he said something that carries deep meaning. "We are all here in the presence of God to listen to everything the Lord has commanded you to tell us." Think about that. A room full of people, ready to listen, not distracted, not skeptical, not defensive, open, present, expectant. And in that moment, Peter began to speak. But what he said revealed that something had shifted inside him. "I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism," he said, "but accepts from every nation the one who fears him and does what is right." That realization didn't come from a lecture. It didn't come from a debate. It came from experience, from stepping into a place he once avoided, from seeing people differently, from allowing his understanding to expand. And then Peter began to share the message, not in complexity, not in confusion, but in clarity. He spoke about peace, about Jesus, about how the message spread, about what had been witnessed. He didn't just give information, he gave testimony. He spoke of what had happened, what he had seen, of what had been done. And as he spoke, something unexpected happened. The Holy Spirit came upon all who were listening. Not after a long process, not after a structured moment, right there, in the middle of the message. It wasn't planned, it wasn't controlled, it just happened. And the believers who had come with Peter were amazed. Because the gift that they thought was limited was now being poured out on people they didn't expect. It broke their assumptions, it expanded their understanding, it confirmed what Peter had begun to realize. This wasn't limited, this wasn't restricted, this was open. And in that moment, Peter responded. "Can anyone keep these people from being baptized with water?" he asked. "They have received the Holy Spirit just as we have." There was no argument, no hesitation, no delay, so he ordered that they be baptized. And just like that, something new had begun. Not quietly, not slowly, but clearly. A boundary had been crossed, a wall had been broken, and a message had reached beyond what many thought was possible. But let's pause and look deeper. Because this story is not just about Peter, and it's not just about Cornelius, it's about perspective. About what happens when we allow what we believe to be challenged, not to be destroyed, but to be expanded. Peter didn't lose his foundation. He didn't abandon his faith. He understood it more deeply, more widely, more completely, and that understanding changed how he acted. There's also something powerful about Cornelius's role. He wasn't passive. He didn't just wait, he prepared, he gathered. He created a space where something meaningful could happen. And when the moment came, he was ready. Ready to listen, ready to receive, ready to respond. That kind of readiness doesn't come from one moment. It comes from consistency, from a life that is already leaning towards something greater. And then there's the connection between the two. Peter stepping out of his comfort zone, Cornelius opening his space, both responding to something they didn't fully understand yet, but trusting enough to move forward. And when those two responses met, something happened that neither of them could have created alone. That's the beauty of it. Transformation often happens at the intersection of obedience and openness. One person willing to go, another person ready to receive, and in that space, something new begins. There's also a lesson here about timing. Peter didn't go before the vision. Cornelius didn't send before the message. Everything unfolded in sequence, which reminds us that timing matters. Not everything happens when we expect, but when it does happen, it often connects in ways we couldn't have planned. And maybe that's something we need to hold on to, because sometimes we want everything to be clear from the beginning. We want to understand every step before we take it. But this story shows something different. Clarity often comes through movement, through experience, through stepping into something uncertain. Peter didn't have all the answers when he entered that house, but he had enough to move forward, and that movement changed everything. So what does this mean for us? It means we should be willing to examine the boundaries we've created. Not all boundaries are wrong, but some may be limiting us from something greater. It means we should stay open to people who are different from us, not just tolerating, but engaging, listening, understanding. It means we should be ready, like Cornelius, to create space for something meaningful to happen, to gather, to invite, to expect. And it means we should recognize that transformation is not always comfortable. Peter had to step into something unfamiliar. Cornelius had to trust something unexpected, but both of them responded. And because they did, something new was established. A message that moved beyond limits. A connection that broke barriers. A moment that changed direction. Not just for them, but for many others. So maybe the question is this: where are we being invited to step outside of what feels familiar? Where are we being asked to see differently? And what might happen if we actually respond? Because sometimes the most important moments in our lives are not the ones we plan. They are the ones we step into, uncertain, unsure, but willing. And in those moments, something greater begins to unfold. Thank you for watching this video. If this message made you reflect in a new way, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it today.